welcome back. Today we're gonna do a nice little simple painting anyone could do. And let me run the colors across the screen that you'll need to paint along with me. While they're doing that, let me tell you what I got done up on my canvas. I have a 16 by 20 inch canvas, pre-stretched, double prime, and I added a thin layer of liquid white. Rather than that, it's all ready and select to go. Now, as you may notice, I have less colors on my palette. The only colors I really have are yellow, red, blue, brown, and that's it. I avoided putting black, I avoided putting dark sienna, I avoided so many colors just to show you you could do a painting with limited colors. Now let's get started. With the clean 2 inch, let's tap in a little bit of phthalo blue. Just a little. You do not need much in order to tint it, you could say. So now let's just go up here, just dance in a happy little sky, nothing too crazy. And I thought we could do a nice little winter scene since we don't do much winter scenes, at least not that I can't recall. So I thought maybe today would be a great day to do a nice little winter scene. Stir things up a bit. Now, I want to darken up the corners, but since I don't have uh, Prussian blue, what we usually use, so I'm gonna use a different color. I'm gonna go into a little touch of alizarin crimson, tone my blue down, and maybe a little touch of Van Dyke brown. Just a little. And look at that, we already darkened this painting up with those colors. Now, if you're doing this painting at home and you have Prussian blue and all those nice colors, you don't have to use a limited palette like me. I just chose today we could use a limited palette, but you could simply just use a little bit of Prussian blue or whatever you have laying around there. Okay, while we're here, let's go into a little phthalo blue and a touch of Indian yellow, just a touch more blue than yellow, just to give it that green hint. Just to give it that look of a hint of green. I'm just gonna scrub it in. This is the lazy way to paint. I'm an old lazy painter. Now, when you're painting water, don't do it. You could try doing it this way, but it's hard to blend out the brush strokes. It just makes this harder. So you wanna pull outwards, inwards, like that. Okay, maybe a bit more. Okay, now let's start making maybe a mountain. So let's go into phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, Van Dyke brown. Okay, could add a touch of yellow. Now on my palette, it's a very dark color. It looks almost black. So let's add a little bit of white. I don't want it to the blue side. I want it toned down to like a dark grayish, blackish color. Remember, I have a limited palette, so now I have to mix the color. Look at that. That's a nice little color. It's more dark than what it looks like. I mean, it's more lighter than what it looks like on camera. So I'm just mixing up that color, getting 3 shades, one darkest, one lightest, and one in between. So something 3 shades, because in my painting I think I'm gonna have 3 mountains. Okay, so as you can see, I have 3 shades. The first, I mean, the last two look um, identical because they're really dark. And I just get a little roll of paint on the edge of the knife. Let's come up here. Let's begin to mark a nice big mountain that's just all the way in the distance. So I'm just putting in a basic little mountain. We couldn't care less what's in the inside. All we care about is the outside of that mountain. Okay. Now let me clean my knife. I have a table over here, that's why. So if you see me moving around, it's because I'm going to clean my stuff. And let's get a 1.5 inch brush that has a little angle and just open the bristles, touch, pull. Now, since I don't have too much liquid white, actually I should have put a bit more. I added a way too thin layer. The colors aren't blending as nice, but they're still gonna blend. I just have to put a bit more effort. But for you guys, put a generous amount. Generous but thin amount. Can't put too much, you can't put too little. But then if you put too little, you're also going to be trying out a new technique. So it's up to you. But if you're trying to accomplish wet on wet painting, I suggest you put more liquid white. Now, I have my shadow. I added white to it. And I just want a few little indications of highlight here and there because it's too distant. You don't want to see too much. If you see too much, then it's not going to look distant. some shadow. Right now, the less you put, the better it looks. Okay, now let's get a brush, random 2-inch. I was just making sure there was not too much paint, and just tap and just put it there, far in the distance. So as you can see, we have one mountain over there. So now let's go into our mid-tone. Maybe this mountain comes right around here. Maybe it comes right there. Does now. You gotta scrape that paint off that canvas. You could always change the shape, go back and forth, back and forth. I don't know if you could hear how much I'm actually scraping into the canvas. Okay, now back to that brush with the angle. You see how it slightly moves? That means I have like almost nothing of liquid white. So if you guys want to try out, go for it, be my guest. But if you're just simply focusing on wet on wet and trying to better yourself, then just stick to wet on wet and just add the proper liquid white. And there's so many videos on YouTube on how to put a proper amount of liquid white. And if you guys are interested to see me do one, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know, so I know what you guys are trying to look for. Okay, so we have that. Now a little bit more white, it's a little bit more noticeable, and just a touch more. Just here and there, a few little highlights, nothing too crazy. And a few little indications of shadows. Now let's grab this brush, tap the base, following the angles. I want to kind of diffuse some of that highlight. I don't want too much highlight because it ruins the illusion of it going back and forth and so much depth into that painting. Now let me clean my knife. Okay, let me get a very dark color, darkest shade. Now it stands out a bit than the other two, but when you put that highlight on, that little rascal is gonna show up very clearly. So just putting in some mountains, having fun with this. You're supposed to have fun when you're painting. If you're not having fun while you're painting, you're doing it wrong. Painting should be fun. Nothing else but fun. Some of the places I just wish, some of the places I paint, I just wish I could go see if it was in real life. Because you could also make some things that you want to put in your painting but are not in real, like, let's say some mountains and a beach. Maybe it's out there somewhere, but realistically, if I go to like Long Beach, or not Long Beach, Redondo Beach, or areas like that, there's not gonna be a mountain and a beach. But it's interesting. Your imagination could come up with so many things. So many things. You just have to kind of let your mind let go. Okay, I'm just adding more white to my lightest mixture. Cut a roll. Look at that nice little roll. It's like a light hint blue. And touch. Now, since we have less liquid white and the paint is so thin and we're adding thicker paint, it's working better than what it would work usually. Just sort of let it float in there. Maybe here comes nice little highlight, just like so. Now, here's a little trick. If you're struggling a bit, you can get your knife and kind of scratch out where you want your highlights of your mountain to be, and so on and so forth. Now, I want to put the shadows before I continue. So we have this nice little so-so color. Just let it graze. Just like you did with the highlights, you have to do with your shadows. Okay, something like so. Maybe let's put the shadow here first. Sometimes it's just better putting on the shadow, but try it out. See which one works best for you. Whether it's putting your shadows first, your highlights first, and whichever one works the best, that's the best way. Okay? Maybe these two just connect. You could do so much things with this. You could stay here for days and days and days. Let me get a small palette knife since we have uh, this little place. You could actually bring a touch of that highlight color and sort of try to blend it in um, with that shadow. You can do so many things with mountains. So many things. It's unbelievable. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop right around there because if not, uh, I'm gonna keep on going at this for days. And we only have about half an hour. And we're already at the 20-minute mark. So we gotta keep on going. Tap the base. Tap the base. Following the angles of your mountain. Lift upward lightly. Now, what I want to do is, let me hold up. Let me clear up my palette a bit. Let's get phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, Van Dyke brown, good hefty amount. I'm gonna try to avoid using green. I put green accidentally on my palette, so I'm gonna try to avoid it. I put uh, the yellows to turn it green. Okay, just mix up the colors real good. Okay, I have a nice little oval brush here. Just loading my brush full of paint. Maybe there's some little foothills or snowy areas, something just living around there. Little sort of land. You can scrub it in. You just want some few little landmarks and all that. But the rest, the inside you can scrub in. Doesn't really matter. So I'm just tapping, 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 tapping. Okay. Well, cut in my basic little uh land, we could say. Grab it, pull it. Now, since we don't have enough liquid white, we can't create such wonderful reflections as we could. Um, so all I have to do is dip my brush into a bit of liquid white. Liquid clear, just a little bit. And boom, we have reflections. Just smoothing out the paint. So if you can't do reflections because the paint is either too thick or you don't have enough liquid white, whatever the reason, just add a little bit of liquid clear to your paint, thin out your paint, and just make it like if you had that enough medium or whatever the situation is. In my case, is the medium, not having enough medium. Tap some white because, how I mentioned, we're making a winter scene. Just like so. Just lightly tapping. You don't need much for this. You know what? I'm gonna use my trusty old oval brush. But for that, I need to clean it. I hope you guys are enjoying this type of content. And if you want something else, like maybe me painting a vase or a flower or something different to change it up, let me know and I'll try my best. Whether I know how to do it or not, but we'll learn together. We'll learn together. Doesn't really matter. Load tons of paint onto your brush, just lightly tapping it. Today I was in the mood of a wintry type um, painting. That's why we're doing winter. But you could always paint this picture like it were summer or whatever time you would like to do. So I just, with a little bit of this dark color that we use for the base, I added Van Dyke brown and a touch of white. You could lay in a little bit of land. And since it's a snowy day, this painting it's a bit more easier. We don't have to mix too many different colors. All we just do is get some white and graze it upon that initial Van Dyke brown color. You can go over it multiple times if you want more of the white on top. Or you could barely graze it if you want just a little. It's up to you. It's up to you. Okay. I always try to do these paintings in like half an hour. Sometimes we go a bit over, but I hope you guys don't mind me going over because I'm trying to uh, make the best instructional way. I don't want to do it so quick that you guys don't understand it and are like, well, how did he even do it? I want you guys to understand it, grasp the idea, and be like, oh yeah, he did this by doing this, and fully understand it. So I added a little liquid white to my titanium white and just pull down a little reflection. Now let's go into some titanium white. Let's put in a few little water lines here and there. Okay, well, let's go ahead and let's make some rocks. This seems like a place where I would have some rocks, but don't make them all circled and everything. Give it some character into these rocks. Rocks aren't always perfectly straight and flat. You gotta sometimes give them a few little bumps in order for them to look better. Maybe if you live around here, maybe one over here. Make up these stories. Don't just put them in at random. Okay, let's put in little reflection, a mini reflection, you could call it. On some, you're not going to be able to because they're too close to each other. But on the ones that you can, if you put it, it's going to look so much better. Now let's get a 1 inch and just graze upon those rocks. Okay, now let's go into slow one side with titanium white and just, nope, that won't work. I tried pulling a fast one, but it wouldn't let me. So I guess we're gonna have to clean my brush and take it through some white. So some titanium white. Little snow. Just the indication of some snow. Maybe just right there laying on top of these rocks. Just pop out some of these water lines. You could kind of also drag a few. Okay, let me step back, look at it. Uh, there's some white areas here, so I'm just gonna fix that. No, make it seem like it's not just randomly floating. Okay, I know what I'm missing, and I'm gonna fix that real quick. I'm gonna go into my dark colors. Let's pick up Van Dyke Brown. Mixing on your brush will allow different colors on your paint. It'll give your painting a whole new different look. But you also want to uh, get the best results. Okay. Maybe this. I call these little push-up trees since the bristles are upwards. For me, when I'm painting winter scenes, the trees, the bristles usually go up for mine. When it's summer and all that fun time, they're usually down. And the trees with the bristles that are facing down for me are a bit easier. That's why I tend to do those a bit more. But they're both nice little trees. You could do either one. Um, Let me just mix up a bit more paint on my brush. Actually, let me show you how I load it. I go across and across like 4 times, and I wiggle the paint. Just pull it sharp. It has so much paint in there. Maybe this was a big old tree. I just lived here alone. You know, friend was coming along but wasn't here just yet. You gotta make up these stories. I'm telling you, these stories will help you out, and it's great. No, they expect artists to be a little crazy, so we could get away with that. We can get away with that. Okay, now get my brush, and I'm gonna pile up my paint. I'm actually gonna mix up more paint. Just a multitude of colors. Okay, look how much paint I have on there. Let me get that side profile. So much paint. Before this technique, it requires so much paint. Wet on wet always requires so much paint. Now, I'm pulling my brush, and as you can see at the end, hold up, at the end it leaves those brush, little, I call it little spikes, and you're gonna have one corner that's rounded up just a bit to create a nice little, happy little bush. Happy little bush that lives right along here. Just scrub in the rest. When painting landscapes, I always, when I'm teaching someone, I always say the inside is all that matters. The outside you can care less about. You can care less about the outside. You just have to worry a bit about the inside. I said it. Wrong. You can care less about what's in the inside. We have to take care of what's on the outside. Okay? So much paint. Just touch, release. Now, if your paint's not sticking, you should thin it out. A little bit of liquid white, but keep it a mixture. Don't just go full liquid white and that's it. Leave it as mixture. And when you're highlighting these bushes, highlight them individually. Don't just put them all in at random. You know, it may seem like I'm putting them at random. I'm actually thinking about each and every single little bush. Look at that. If you load your brush properly and you practice this technique a bit, you will get great results in your paintings. Leave a little bit of dark. Don't cover all your dark. Look at that. Just like that, we have our amazing little bushes. So now comes time to highlighting our tree. We'll pull my brush through the white, wiggle the paint through, and pull it across. That sharpens the bristles and makes it to a pointy edge. And all I'm gonna do, push upward a bit. When one side finishes, you can go onto the other side of paint. Just load your brush full of paint, full of paint. And I'm sorry for keeping you guys longer than what I intended to. I only intended 30 minutes and I went 10 minutes overboard. So I'm sorry about that. But I think with that, we could call this nice little happy little finished painting. You know what? Before I leave, I'm gonna go into a little Indian yellow. Just add a little golden touch to these. Scratch in a few little Take some twigs. Well, I think that's done. By complete. Well, I hope you enjoyed this painting. This is a nice little simple painting, and we used a limited palette. You don't have to use a limited palette, it's your choice. I think we're gonna add a polar bear into this painting, but that's until the next painting, after this painting dries. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you try this painting out. Until next time, I'll see you guys. Happy painting. God bless.